So at the moment I'm just kind of redoing the well, now we can remember what it's called. Oh, kind of the deck around the terminal here. So I kind of want to do a little more fancy overlays and stuff like that. So I'm gonna give it a shot here. But first of all, I had to kind of model everything again. Okay, we'll bevel that. Now I could copy this. You could see how well it fits. I don't always like to copy these things because, well, you know, then it just kind of looks repetitive. But, you know, I guess we're okay. I'm not too sure if I like this though, because it doesn't quite line up. So I'm just gonna just redo it again. So. Okay, I'm going to extrude some vertices. Cool. Subdivide that. I wish I knew what the shortcut was to subdivide. Guess I don't have one assigned. I should make an assignment, and that'd make things a lot easier. Okay, and bevel. Looks good. Okay, and subdivide that. I need to make a key shortcut here in a second. Okay. We'll bevel that. Be one less even than that. That's about right, but everything needs to kind of move in this way first, so we'll do that. Okay. Looks pretty good. So I wanted to kind of get some of this detail in here, these different kind of different bits of concrete in here, so I'm gonna have to probably think about how I'm gonna block in all that there at some point. And okay. Should have been in orthographic, so things may not be level, but hopefully they are. Not level with the ground at the moment, but they look like they're level relative to each other, so that's good. Okay. Generally speaking, you do want to make sure you're in orthographic mode when you're doing this. Okay. It's funny how much slower some of the navigating as far as the viewport goes, navigating is in Blender when you have these big images loaded in there. It just takes a while to render, I guess. Okay. Images loaded in there. Trying to get these a little bit better. Get these lined up a little bit better here. Live streaming may not be the best in the world just because my internet is not anything to write home about, so bear with me if that becomes a problem. Okay, and this is kind of, again, kind of one of those awkward edges, so I'm going to have to kind of... And I kind of want to add these details right here. We have asphalt instead of concrete, so if we extrude a vertice here, we could kind of add that, and then we can make an edge here. I'll just press F. Maybe I don't want to make an edge there, I just want to kind of go this way with it, I guess. Okay. And then just extrude along this edge and keep going around here. Okay. I like these nice straight edges here. Makes it easy. Now mapping these parts here can be a little, when you have these sharp corners, it can make the textures look a little odd, so I might think about that when it comes to texturing some of this. Never seen things parked here. It's kind of odd. I think they were going to extend this part of the terminal at some point. Okay. And this looks like it's concrete too, but I don't know. I don't think I'll put an edge there for it. I'll have to create like a separate polygon, I think. So I'll just extrude this all the way down here. And again, I think I won't stop there either. I'll just keep going. Looks like a horizon or something. I'm not a huge airline buff, so I don't really know which is which, Horizon or Alaskan, or if either is, I guess it's all kind of Alaskan nowadays, maybe. Let's see, this is kind of odd, but I think I'll model, well, debating whether or not I want to add that little bit of a notch right there, and I guess it'd be kind of a nice detail if a plane was parked here, so I guess I'll go ahead and add it. And I should have probably locked things on an axis just to keep things straight, so I'll do that this way. Okay. And come over there. And nothing too exciting at the moment. I'm hoping to get through some texturing here at some point. I still gotta show you guys how I was going to go about starting to texture that model in that previous video that I posted. I think it was the last one, about the only other one there was. It looks like it kind of jots over here too. Of course, it's a little misaligned, but it's not quite straight either, so in this case we won't even worry about it. Well, maybe we will, because that'll make things a little more square in the long run. Okay, that looks good anyways. Okay. So then we'll have to come back and fill in more for the asphalt portions here. But kind of map out the concrete portion first. So one thing that can be actually is pretty hard to do would be to get the squares to line up perfectly. It's obviously possible, but I don't know. Not really up for trying to do that, I don't think. Although I have tried in the past, it just got way too complicated. Concrete. These concrete tiles I've always struggled a little bit with as far as textures go. At least trying to make them look right. So that's kind of why I'm doing this, is to see if I can get a little better result than I have in the past. Part of that would be just trying to make it not look too repetitive, which I know I'm not the only one who has, I wouldn't say issues, but kind of faces the same struggles with that. But, and again, it kind of depends, well, what are you aiming for, I guess. And I don't know. I think just because this is, where all the airplanes go, if you're flying here, look, you want to have a nice looking pad here. Okay, I want to dissolve that edge because we don't need it. And I keep forgetting because I've just been so used in the past to Blender not dissolving the vertices when I dissolve the edges, that I'm just naturally used to having to go back and dissolve the vertices as well when I dissolve an edge. But that's not the case anymore, and I'm going to go ahead and delete this vertice because I had to kind of remake a face out of this. Looks like we actually still have a little work to do right here. So I can just subdivide that, and I was going to make a key shortcut for that, so why not do that right now? So let's see, user preferences. I've never done this before, honestly, so I'm not sure for how easy this is going to be. But, we'll give it a shot here. System, perhaps. It's got to be one of these. File, add-ons, input, editing. Where are we? I'm confused now. Let's go back. I thought I saw it, and then I lost it. Let's see. User preferences. Editing. That wouldn't be it. Input. Wouldn't be it, would it? Animations. Windows markers. Tools, maybe? What is this thing over here? Add. 3D timeline. No, that wouldn't be any of these things, I guess. Add-ons. Be under mesh. I guess maybe I don't know what I'm doing, but oh well. If one of you guys know, you can tell me where to add a key shortcut, because I can't find them right now. Oh well, live without it for now. This I'd like to get lined up, but it'll never be perfect. Okay, and then if I just move it on the x-axis a little further. Okay. And again, it looks like we have a little this part right here is kind of weird because there's kind of like a little underpass or overpass, kind of depending how you look at it, but it's kind of a place for vehicles to pass underneath the terminal here, I guess. Not really too sure how. I mean, you have to modify the terrain really to model that, so I'm not going to really worry about that part right at the moment. Let's see. Then we still have some asphalt here, so the question is whether I want to deal with it right now. I'm kind of more anxious to just work on some texture, so maybe I won't worry about it right now and just see what I can achieve here. Okay, so I just created a face there, filled all this in, and I'm not really that concerned about these don't really want to mess with these vertices right now, so I won't even leave. I just won't even leave them here. I'll delete them. Okay. The question is, what now? So I was thinking, for starters, that, let me see, make sure there's a face here because I can barely see it. Okay, now there is. And I'll go ahead and move it back up to level here. So let's see here. The best way to do that would be to go over here on the right. Let's see. Make sure I'm in object mode for this. And first of all, I'll apply rotation and scale, so don't forget to do that later. Now on the z-axis here, to set that to 0. We should be good to go. Sweet. Okay, looks like our normals flipped the right way, so that's good as well. I'm going to go ahead and open up GIMP because I'm really just ready to start experimenting and seeing what we can come up with here. So I kind of was thinking of doing kind of a multi-layer thing this time, which means kind of means more textures on one hand. Doesn't necessarily mean worse performance, but might. So I also want to go pop over to CG textures here, just to, in case there's something I feel like I need to download. But let me go ahead and navigate to my FS Scenery Development folder here and find all my raw textures, which again are in a folder. Imagine that. And let's figure out what to start out with here. I just wanted a kind of a base kind of grain, so let's see, what can we use for that? And again, I'm kind of had to kind of build things kind of in a single image at first, I think, and then separated out all the layers later. For the time being, let's just make a 4096 texture. I always like to start out big, as you probably know, because I can always scale things down later or kind of, retransform things. So let's see. See what we have here. This is going to be pretty basic, this one. And I kind of want to get a feel for what I'm looking for in concrete. And like this, I feel this is like fairly close to what I'm looking for. Maybe a little rough. Let's see here. Airport. I'm just Googling over here, guys, to see what airport concrete looks like, if I get a better example. Wish somebody could get a picture of some good concrete. Let's see. It's fairly smooth looking, guys, when I'm looking at it. So this is a little, I mean, obviously this is a pretty close-up picture, but I think this is more like a sidewalk texture. When I'm looking at these, of course, these images, I'm sure this is like brand new concrete. It's got a grain to it though, guys, so there is kind of a, lines like this. So you want to kind of capture that. I was just noticing there is quite a few tire marks on this concrete I'm looking at. Where is this? So, some airport somewhere. Maybe look at a little older concrete, because some of it here that is a little older than other parts. Oh man, that's cracked. Okay, that's a little too rough, but I'm getting the idea here. So actually, not too far off from what I was picturing. So I just want to see what I can find as far as rock. Let's see. wanted to kind of go like with a sandy texture. I was wondering if they have sand. Smooth erosion. Let me go ahead and drag this over, guys, so you guys can see it. And I'll drag this live stream thing back over here, so it's out of the way. Okay. Let's see. I don't know what I'm looking for, but I have an idea in my head. I was looking for like a sand texture, and I'm not seeing one. Various water, tiles, splatter, soil maybe. Sand, there we go. This looks good. I like this kind of look, but I'm really kind of looking for something that's pretty tileable, and so I might just make something from scratch. But like that right there, I like that. This is the tileable texture, and we'll have to log in. Okay, that's just going to download, so I'll drag this back over here. I think I'm going to try and use that texture, because it's about what I was looking for, so let me go ahead and navigate to that, figure out where it went, and open up a new folder here, so I can put that in my folder while I'm at it. Raw textures, where are we at? There we go. Okay, now I'm just going to drag this texture into GIMP here, so I can work with it here. Okay, so first thing first, I really do not want much color in this texture, so I'm going to go ahead and bring down the saturation. I haven't used GIMP in a while, so it's going to be kind of interesting. Okay, that's better. And I need to just duplicate this, so, and maybe before I even do that, I'm going to add a couple guides. I always like to add some ones in this exact center of the image, because they're almost always helpful. And I like to usually add some on the edge as well. So if I did that real quick, so 0 and one of those horizontally too, and then again at 100% as well. There we go. Okay, and then I can just start working on kind of duplicating this thing. Now, according to, I call it CG textures. They changed their name to just textures now. Not sure if I like that or not, but I guess I'm still going to call them CG textures. But it seems like they said this was tileable, so I'm assuming it's tileable. But basically, we're just going to get this kind of laid out here so we can work with it. Actually, it looks like it's a nice size. It looks like just 1024 square, so it should fit right in here. Okay, cool. I like that you can't see too much of a pattern. I mean, you can see a little bit of repetition in here, and that's to be expected, but not too much. What I'm tempted to do is duplicate this layer and perhaps flip it vertically and then bring the opacity down to like 50%. That actually makes it look a lot worse, so anyway, it's just an experiment. So I'll go ahead and delete that layer. I was going to add kind of my own custom grain over the top of this to make it a little more hazy. So let's see. If I just have it start out with like some sort of stock gray color, something like that, and then just toss that in with the paint bucket. And then go to filters, and I do this all the time. I go to filters, map. Well, now now I may not know what I'm doing because haven't done this in so long. I think it's render. Oh, noise. That's right. Noise and HVS noise is usually what I go with here. And in this case, I'm turning everything all the way up. Well, except for maybe saturation. Saturation kind of adds too much color. Okay. So the saturation is all the way down to 0 in this case. Alright, and then I'm going to press Control F a couple times to repeat this, because I want it to be pretty grainy. So I just want this texture to have a little bit more of a base that's very clean and sharp. So I kind of put that in there. See that? I think that makes it look a little better. Okay, so we have that. And now I want to go ahead and start thinking about some other layers I would add to this texture. Perhaps I'll go ahead and just export this. I don't know if I need to. I mean, I need to, but I don't know if I want to right now. Let's see. If I look at this, again, you can never really trust satellite imagery for having the accurate colors, but this is fairly accurate, I think. It's fairly white looking at this. This is, of course, a lot more worn. Kind of like, I like those smudges there. So what I might do is just kind of make this a little lighter. Use saturation. Just pump that lightness up a little bit. Okay, I like that a little better. So I guess I won't export this time, but I will just export. Depending on how things work out, I think I might just export that as a texture right there. Of course, I don't need something this big, so that's the other thing. I might export a smaller size texture that is like this. Anyhow, just to give us something to work off of, I'll go ahead and save this before I forget. Textures. Let's give me a taxi texture. I'm going to call this concrete something or another. Maybe I won't capitalize it. 01. And then I know I don't have our texture named this. Pretty sure anyways. Okay. So let's add something else here now. We need that grain. So I'm not sure if I want to add that. I kind of want to add the grooves and the grain now. So I'll go ahead and do that, I guess. So I'm fairly comfortable with how this works. We just need to have a brush here with a semi-faded edge. And we need to make sure we're on a new layer when we do this. I'm just going to go straight black for now. And this is what's useful about having guides. Then you can kind of get these nice straight lines. But I don't want it really perfectly straight, honestly. I would rather have just a little bit of jitter there. So I had some jitter. Yeah, okay. This might be way too much, but we'll give it a go here. So let's do these center ones first. Okay, that's a little bit better. I mean, the lines are pretty straight. The line itself might be a little large. We'll think about it here. Okay, and just come all the way around. It's really nice how it just snaps to the guides like that. Jitter might be able to be turned up a little bit. I kind of wish the grooves were kind of slightly, maybe if I rethink this here. Maybe make the brush a little smaller and make the jitter a little higher. And let's see how this is going to look. Okay. I'm liking that better. And the grooves are a little smaller, I think look a little better, so we'll go with it for now. Okay, work our way around again. See if I can zoom in here and see what we got. Looks good. Okay, I guess I'll just leave that layer as is for the moment. And I'll go back here and see what we have looking at this image. What we can do here. There's really not a whole lot of, you can't really see a whole lot of grain in this image here. I know there is some, so I'll go ahead and add some somehow. Let me find a texture that would work. And again, that sidewalk texture might be the way to go, but I'm tempted to try something else here. Ooh, that's a nice texture. I like that. I think we'll try it. What they call this? Concrete bear. Okay, so a concrete texture of some sorts. Here's where it gets tricky. I don't really want the splotchy parts here. I just want these grooves. So the question is, can I somehow get just the grooves? And perhaps if I add an alpha channel to this, so I can delete certain parts. So if I select it by color, and this might freeze up a GIMP here. Have to see. Okay, and that select the right stuff or not. Select none and see what we got. Okay, so it's looking better. In fact, I almost like that pretty well. But maybe want to get rid of some of these gray bits here. I don't really need these. Okay, I think that's better. So then if we can add this to our texture somehow. I think I want to scale it down. Maybe not too much, but at least a little bit. Scale layer. I could probably get away with just making it 1024 by 10. Let's see, do I want to do this? Let's make it, well, we'll start out with 1024 by 1024 and then go from there. Need to break that chain first, so now doesn't look too bad. So I'm hoping I can just kind of like duplicate this thing, but it's not gonna look quite right. I should maybe try for 2048 texture size. So layer, where is scale layer? There it is. Let's try 2048. Typing's off today. And we'll go ahead and duplicate this. So we want these green on these two to run the same direction, and these I guess I'd prefer them to run different directions, although I've seen that they lay concrete different ways, so that instead of checkered like this, it's just all one direction. So I don't really know which way it's done in Spokane, so I just prefer this way. I think it looks a little better. Well, what can we do with this now? I'll go ahead and just merge all these layers down because I think I can get away with it. And if I bring the opacity down, that doesn't look too bad actually. I kind of like that. If we just kind of keep the opacity at a modest level here. It's looking better. This grain that I have here needs to come down a little bit, I think, so we get a little more of that gravelly look coming through. And you know, that gravel's almost looks like snow at the moment, so kind of want to think about that. So again, I'm just kind of thinking about what I can have for base layer here. I might just leave it at this and then add things over top. Let's see. I don't really want to add these grooves to the texture. I guess my thought was that I would have the grooves and this grain on their own layer, but I'm not too sure about that at the moment. I think what I'll do, I think I'll leave the grooves on for now, and then we'll use overlays to kind of make things look a little nicer. And now we want to kind of make this groove pop a little bit more, I think. So what we can do is make another layer. Again, it's pretty obvious at this point, I'm sure. Scale is brush down. This time we'll have use a hard edge brush. Again, just a black color. In this case, straight black. And if we just make a dark line right down the center here, maybe a little larger, so if I scale this brush back up a little bit and try this, and then I'd kind of like to put a little dirt in these grooves too, so we'll think about that here in a bit, but I'm just going to go ahead and plop these in first. Okay, and then bring the opacity of that down just a little bit. Should have had a little jitter going on there, I think. But, oh well. Think about redoing that, maybe. I want to hide these guides so I can see how it looks. That doesn't look too bad, and from that distance, that's about what we're aiming for. Maybe what I'll do, now that I have this, is make one more layer and add a kind of a brown color on top of all this that kind of, let's see, so we're talking kind of in the orangey red area, and I kind of want it up and kind of thinking a little more rusty, but something like that. We can always fiddle with the color later, but we'll make the brush size slightly larger and maybe make it have a sort of a faded edge. Apply a good amount of jitter to this and see what comes out of it. That wasn't exactly the effect I was looking for. I'm thinking maybe a smaller brush, quite small actually, more jitter. I'm really just looking for something that will kind of splotch some brown in down these grooves. Ah, perfect. Maybe a little more jitter though. So if I crank that, this might be way too much now. Can be hard sometimes to find kind of the equilibrium. I think that's just right. Okay. Nice. I don't want too much of this. I just want kind of a little indication, a little more something going on. Might be a little overkill, I guess, considering how small these grooves are probably going to look from the cockpit, but they are kind of what make this concrete. So and if I bring the opacity of that down, I like that. It adds a little nice little touch. This black line though, these black lines, I don't like the way those turned out. So I'll go back to black. Again, that was like what, about size 10 or 12 brush, I think. Maybe not even quite that big, I don't know, 11. And I'm going to bring the jitter back down, but leave more than I had in the first time. Okay, that's a lot better. Definitely worth it. If anybody's interested, I can see about uploading these textures if they turn out well. But we don't know at the moment, so once I get this thing in the sim and see how it looks, then I'll decide whether I'll share them with you guys or not. So you don't want to share garbage. This brown might be a little bit much. Of course, I kind of think it might need to be a little lighter too, so colors, hue, saturation, and just kind of lighten that up. Okay, and then bring down the opacity of that layer just a little bit more. It's still a little obvious, so I really need to just really bring that back. That's better. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that actually. I feel like the grooves might be a little big, but again, you kind of need to be able to see them from the cockpit, so I was trying to think of ways I could make those grooves a little more unique. So let's see. If I go to that layer, which would be this, go ahead and rename that so I can keep track of it. So this, I'll call these grooves. They're not. I'll now tell you what, because those black things are grooves. These are this is the grain. Okay. Let me go ahead and maybe duplicate some of these things here. So if I copy some of that and then paste it and bring it over here, because I want to kind of fill in some of that too anyways. Bring the opacity down, and didn't want to move that layer, just want to duplicate it again, so do that. I could do the same thing here. See how that looked. I guess that's, what did I just press? Oh, save, okay. I guess that's okay, only that might make it a little obvious repetitive wise when I tile this texture. So maybe I erase a little bit of that, make it look a little better. And again, maybe not bring it necessarily quite up to the edge, or maybe break it up there a little bit. Okay, so that's looking better. This I didn't even see that there, so might just leave it. Maybe break up some of the edges around it too. Okay. At least they won't look exactly the same now. But again, this is probably going to be fairly subtle in the end, so I'm going to go ahead and just save it and then export it and map it to this thing in Blender. See what we got. Export as. It's probably not going to look that good in Blender, so I just want to get it mapped here. Let's see, textures, raw textures. Hey there, Juan, I guess. Do you mean like train track? I guess I'm a little confused what you mean by track, because that was that's my first thought. How's it going in Brazil, by the way? Okay, let's see. What was I doing here? I was going to save this as concrete. Didn't want to save it in my raw textures though. I want to save it in taxi textures. Okay, concrete 01.png. I always save my textures as PNG. Don't know why I did there, but export. Okay, and then let me go pop into Blender here, see if I can get this thing textured real quick. So this is going to be very simple. I'm just going to, of course, I got to draw a window across here, but go to UV image editor here, just like I showed in that tutorial. I want to unwrap this. Maybe a smart UV project. No, that doesn't look good at all. Let's see. Cube projection. Honestly can't remember which one I used in the tutorial, but I just picked the one that works, and this one seems to work. So we'll go ahead and use it. And it does look. Let's see. It looks perfect. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and open that texture. So FSC develop textures. What is that? Taxi textures, yes. And concrete. 01. Okay, and we're gonna have to scale this way up, but to make it look right. Again, I'm not doing any fancy mapping here. I'm just using the basic unwrap to do this. Easy anyways. So the one problem here is that little piece I added didn't really add anything add much to it, just made it look kind of repetitive. So maybe I'll remove that. I'll just bring the opacities down for a second. Re-export this. I didn't want to do that. File, Control E. Okay, I'll remember that's Control E to export it. And you can head back in the Blender here, see what we got. So image, reload, image. Alright, that's much better. I actually don't think that's too bad. I don't know if it's Blender making the grooves look kind of big. I don't really like that. How big are these things anyways? So actually got the size about right. The grooves seem a little large though. Or not. No, they don't really. If I'm looking down here, obviously these tiles are a little smaller down here, I think. Well, these anyways. But it's actually not too bad. So I think we'll roll with it. So obviously again, this looks pretty lame right now still, so I kind of need to add some overlays of some sorts, and this is where it can get kind of where your artistic abilities are supposed to come in. Let's see. What can I do about that? This is where I had to kind of think about it. So let's see. I am going to need some polys to do this, and you know, I kind of want these different shades, so let's see. How do I want to do that? Well, tell you what, let's do this. I'm going to create a new plane, just so you have to, because we have to start somewhere here. To find a good looking square I can go off of. Let's see, one of these down here maybe. That's not a bad one, I'll use it. Plane's going to be way too big. Scale it way down. I'm trying to match the size of one of these tiles here. That's what I'm calling them anyways. And after I do that, I just want to find out how large they're supposed to be. Get a rough idea anyways. Yeah, scale it down. And a little more. Looks about right. So what's the dimensions on this? Location. Thought they'd be here, but I'm not seeing an obvious. Where are they? Yeah, we're over here too. Let's see. Could also use a tape measure too, but shading, grease pencil, ruler, protractor. Wow, I'm tempted to go with about 3.3 meters. Actually looks about right. So, I'm going to delete that plane right here and create something that size. So, create a plane and make the radius 0.15. Need to escape out that tape measure though. Okay. 0.15. See if that worked. Hopefully. Okay, perfect. So I'm thinking if I map it to this size, and then I could have some different polys for these different shades here, because we got these white tones. We have the kind of darker tones here, and some darker tones here. So, Not exactly sure how I want to do that. I was just thinking making some polygons here. I think that's what I'll do, because I don't see any other better way to do it at the moment. Unless the only other option was to make one texture that kind of like covered this whole area right here. I'm not sure if I like the idea of that. Maybe I will try it though before I try and map all these pieces out, just in case that worked better. So let's try and must have deleted the wrong. There we go. Must have deleted the wrong thing here, so, but we got it back. I wanted to, oh, I see, I made that plain in edit mode, so, okay. That took care of that. So we know that I want to make that the tiles are 0.3 meters square. Okay, I'll just keep trying to remember that, because it'll be more important later. And let's see, if I open that image, that aerial image, so local disk, scenery development, text, photoreal. I have to save these folders to myself, else I don't know where I'm going. I think it's this one, and it's not. Okay, let's open a different one then. I'm getting to think again that this is, you know, if I want to do this for everything like these, but that's a lot of different textures to try and fit. Maybe I'll go with something, try to do something a little more like this on kind of a big scale. Kind of like that idea. Why don't I try that? So, okay, now we have a plan. I'm going to create a new image here. I want this image to be fairly large, actually, but it's not going to be that detailed. It's going to be kind of blurry. I'm just looking for more of the tones in this concrete. So, ignore GIMP's warning there. Let's see. If I delete that, and let's see, I need to go to my textures, because I think I do need to find some sort of texture I can go off of here. Whoops, now you guys know what music I listen to. I actually listen to quite a, well, now I just clicked on it again. I actually listen to quite a bit of music while if I'm not making a video like I am right now. I actually listen to a lot of music when I'm working on things, because this can be kind of mind-numbing. Let's see. Some old concrete textures of mine. I kind of like that one. But anyways, it's a different one. So what I was looking for here are some kind of something like, well, I don't really know what I'm looking for. I have an idea in my head what I'm looking for, but I have to kind of scroll through all this stuff. A lot of random textures here I've never used. That's close to what I was looking for, is that right there. I wonder if I could use this. Okay, what texture is that? These are nice textures too. These are some other textures I think I'll make use of here at some point. But let me try and find this texture, bring it into GIMP here. Okay, that's cool. So we kind of already have these kind of light tones and darker tones, and so I was thinking, well, I could maybe kind of manipulate this image kind of to an extreme end to get some sort of desired result, whatever that might be. So let's think about this here. It needs to be able to be tileable, at least in one direction. So I was thinking I'd go make it tileable from left to right, or horizontally anyways. I guess it does have to be tileable this way, but not in quite the same context, I guess. So let me line these up and just get this whole image filled up with this for starters. I know this might look kind of weird at the moment, but I think it might actually work pretty well here. So I just have to kind of get things set up first. Let's see. Just need to. All these weird shortcuts in GIMP can make you confused. Okay. Keep duplicating these. Again, I'm not probably going to keep this same pattern here. Well, obviously not, but merge these all down. Well, to answer Juan's question, because I was just talking to him here, this is not a bad start what I'm doing actually right here, as a matter of fact. This is basically what Orbix, I think, kind of has mastered their art as far as ground polygons go, but Flightbeam basically just does what I'm doing here at the moment. Of course, better than me, I'm sure. But basically, just creating these textures and making different layers and layering things on top of each other to kind of create a realistic looking taxiway or runway or whatever, what have you. So I guess the question is then how do you do that? That's kind of a tough question, and let me go ahead and layer crop to selection. Okay, yeah, so like I was saying, this is pretty much how to do it, but you know, if I was to, you know, teach somebody how to do that, I don't know if I could, because there's just so much kind of artisticness about it. It's kind of, might sound like BS, but really, if you want to get nice looking taxiways and runways and stuff like flight beam or whatever, it helps to just do a lot of this, what I'm doing right now, and seeing how you can take certain textures and being familiar with the tools in GIMP, or at least comfortable enough with them that you can manipulate them in the ways that you kind of see in your head. And I mean, it really, because you know, actually doing the modeling is not hard. Not hard to accomplish, but the textures are kind of the trick of the trade, I guess. But actually, no, actually kind of following along with what I'm doing here right now would be a good step in doing what you're talking about doing there, Juan. So let's see. What I was trying to do here is figure out a way to kind of just blur this out. I mean, I'm like, and by blur I mean like really blur. So, because you might kind of see what I'm trying to do here at this point. I'm trying to get this kind of shading going on from that. So, in fact, I came up with just one idea just now. Let me try it. If I say transform scale layer and scale it vertically, so that'd be height, and I'm scaling this a ton. You can always contact me, since the questions come up, you can always contact me on my Facebook page, SAS Creations on Facebook. I usually have links in, should actually have links in all of my other videos if you go look, and you can send me a message there. If you don't have a Facebook, then I guess you could try the messaging me on YouTube if you want to converse. Okay, so this is going to take a few seconds for GIMP to think about. I think, you know, like Photoshop actually probably does a lot of these things faster as far as rendering and stuff. But I like free. Scale layer. Some more. I'm getting pretty crazy here. And I'm hoping this gets me somewhere. It's looking better. I can say that already. It's starting to look more like what I had envisioned. This is going to take GIMP a long time to think about this time. And Avast says my computer is running slow. Okay, well, yeah, it was when GIMP was doing its thing. Okay, this is kind of cool. What can I do with this now? I almost need to move this over, like so. And let's see what I can do from here. Where we go from here. I want to crop this layer to selection. Not sure, I can't do that from here. So we go image, crop to selection. And I really want to do even more stretching, I guess is what you would call this. So layer, scale layer. And let's really max out this height again. So 20,000. So again, I'm just going to think about it for another 30 seconds. Okay, it's looking better. I kind of want to try and get these tones now. So first of all, it's the first thing is to make make it more yellow, I guess. So let's see, layers, colors, hue, saturation. I'm going to change to hue is kind of what I'm thinking. Saturation needs to come down too. Way down. Maybe not that much. But let's see. Find the right tone here. That's better. This is too dark, is kind of part of the problem, so I need to lighten that up too. I'm gonna cancel that. If I just select these areas, lighten them up, add to that selection by holding down Shift, maybe a little bit of that as well, and then colors, hue, saturation. This might make it's probably gonna make it look weird again. But I'll go with it here. Select all. No, it actually looks fine. Okay. Just a second here while I do something. Copy my link here. Alright, it's back what we were doing here. Let's see. I don't like all this splotchiness here again, so I'm going to really stretch this out again. And again, that's kind of the name of the game here, I think. So let's really do that. Okay. More waiting. Well, this is really taking a long time this time. Hopefully we get somewhere with this. So I'm looking here, there's actually kind of some kind of things going this way as well. Maybe I can capture that somehow. So I'm curious to see how this turns out though. Okay, almost done. Oh crap. So what I did is I just wanted to scale it on the height, so I needed to break that chain. So now I gotta try and undo this. So layer, scale layer. Okay, I'm liking this a lot better now, but now I kind of want to get rid of all these nasty stripes. So the question is how to do that. I may have stretched it too much. I don't really think so. I just need to figure out what to do about that. Well, let's crop this image. So like I was saying, this is pretty much nothing like what the image I started with. We haven't really done that much to it yet. So let's see, image, crop to selection. Okay. Maybe, I don't really know what the best way to get rid of these stripes is. Is there a de-stripe in Blender? I mean, excuse me, GIMP, blur, Gaussian blur, what is that? Horizontal. Ah. Sort of what I was looking at trying to go for here. Let's see what this does. Okay, that actually worked surprisingly well. I might actually go ahead and try this out. Maybe I want to get rid of those white tones just a little bit, and some of these might be a little dark yet. I don't know. Let's tell you what, let's copy this and paste it over our base concrete texture, and we'll bring the opacity down so we can kind of think about how it's gonna look. So I see one problem is that, well, it's kind of weird because I guess you can see it here. This is going to need to be below the grooves, in my opinion. So if you look at this, these need to go, well, I won't move those, I'll just move, it needs to look like that. Okay, so that's why we need to separate these out now. So these two layers will be their own texture, and again I'll make that texture. Okay. So this actually looks pretty good. I'm actually liking this. I just think, of course, it's going to be a little bit larger on this. So if I just scale this layer, I won't worry about bringing this into Blender at the moment. I have to do some work on that, but scale this way up. Okay. So that's kind of, I mean, that's kind of the effect I'm going for. I don't want it quite that intense, perhaps. And I was hoping I could line it up at least somewhat in a way that looked good. Let's see. So what might be the problem at the moment is there's not enough light color. Darks are too much, so let's see, what can I do about that? I mean, I can do things about it, just the best way to go about it. So this right here might kind of rethink it a little bit. So I copy a little section of this texture, move it over. And of course I don't have any guide, so I have to zoom way in to line it up. And let's see, if I take my eraser here, just kind of blend the edges here. Okay, that's cool. And perhaps I'll even take the smudge tool, because we don't want these, we don't want everything here. Excuse me, let me just merge this down. I don't think we want everything to be perfectly straight like this. I think we have a little bit of play in the, well, not that much, that looks awful, but if we have a little bit of motion going on in here, I think things are going to look a little better. So, of course, the image has to be selected, so this might take some patience. I just want to get a little motion going on in here, and I guess if I just take my time, okay, so let's see. Maybe I like this gray. I like this gray tone here. So maybe if I can get more of that gray tone, I don't know. I was trying to blend this over this way, and then of course I'm gonna have to kind of drag up and down too to get the effect that I want. And again, I wanted a little bit more light colors in places, because these well, let's see, if I get the rate, turn up the rate a little bit. Okay. So let's see if I can maybe steal a little bit more of that white. Having the rate up helps. liking this actually, but it just takes a little bit of time to work on. Again, this isn't exactly a tutorial, just kind of stuff I'm seriously trying to accomplish here as part of my own endeavors in scenery design. And this is kind of I won't say specifically for, but at the moment I'm working on this for Spokane, which is my scenery project, which I'm kind of working on in the shadows right now. I haven't really revealed too much for quite a while. It's kind of looking like, I don't know, I was thinking bacon, but it's not really bacon. Okay, let's get that a little more vertically blended now. Smudged in this case. It looks more like Jupiter, I guess. That's what I was thinking of, Jupiter. It's kind of weird too. I just have to put like the red spot right in here. Now guys, if you want to know how to make Jupiter, a texture for Jupiter, then here you go. So at the moment, I'm planning on. Well, I don't know what I'm planning on at the moment for Spokane as far as how I'm going to release it. Honestly, I'd love to release it as freeware, especially. Well, you know, I don't really care to if I was to make money on a scenery project. I just don't think I'd have time to deal with all the support that would, you know, having to support your customers as far as helping them figure out problems they're having with it or whatever. So I'm not too, you know, I'm apparently a helpful person, but I'm not too big on having to provide support to everybody on something like that, especially just because I wouldn't have enough time to do it to do as good of a job with that as I'd like to. So yeah, I'd prefer to have it be freeware. Okay, well, let's take a look at this back in I don't know, the tones now are a little, like, I don't want this kind of, what is that, like a dark brown color. I don't really want that. If I could kind of get rid of some of that. It's funny, this channel just gained over 100,000 views, which is kind of interesting. It's interesting where everybody comes from too. There's all these different, you know, if you have a YouTube channel or whatever, you can see all the different countries people come from, and it's pretty interesting to see where everyone does reside. It's pretty, that's one thing that's kind of interesting about this whole hobby, is that it seems this really international kind of thing, you know. And of course, I'm here in the States, so. But even on, I guess even on the FS Developer Forum, there's just people from all different places. So it's kind of interesting to see that on the channel. Let's see. I'm not sure how much more I'm going to do with this. It's kind of getting out of hand, but what I think I'll end up doing is maybe adding some blur once again. This in this case, excuse me, this in this case I'll use just a motion blur, I think, and just let's see, linear, but I want the angle to be like 0 degrees. I'm hoping this is the right direction. Oh, maybe I don't even want it that direction. Let's see. Maybe I do want it this direction. Let's see how that turns out. So again, more waiting. That was interesting, but it didn't really do much, so I kind of want to do that again though. So let's see, filters, motion blur, and is this going to, question is, will this kind of mess up everything I just did or not? But I just turned that motion blur way up. See what effect that has. But you know, for the most part, I'm kind of liking the looks of this. But this is going to be scaled up fairly large on top of the concrete, I think. You can notice too that it's really just it's just color tones. There's no detail in this at all. But in the end, it kind of does create detail, so it's kind of interesting. I don't know what would make this faster. Processor, maybe, I guess. The memory, I really would like to have more than 8 gigabytes of memory in this computer, but you know, set your priorities. Wow, it takes a long time. I should X off this because I don't really need it. There are some kind of white, really kind of like white shades going on in here too, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. What I was talking about earlier. Then this is kind of interesting. I don't know what these were for. Maybe someone knows, but must have been for parking. I don't know. But some kind of interesting things here. I'm not sure how far I'm going to go with some of it. You can see that's kind of neat how you can see where some old taxi lines were. That's pretty cool. Okay, is this thing done? Okay, I actually like that pretty well. So let me save this concrete blur. Blur, I guess I'll call it that. Okay. And let me delete this layer because I'm not going to use it anymore. And let me open as a layer that image I just saved. So concrete blur, wherever that is. Yeah, so all these textures that I've created are essentially handcrafted. I kind of start out with textures from just some raw textures from what used to be called CG Textures, but I see, you know, they changed their name to just textures.com now. I just take kind of raw textures from there and manipulate them in a whole bunch of weird ways. So, but yeah, other than that, I just kind of don't really use actual photos per se in a lot of my textures. So I'm just scaling this up just to see how it looks. I'm going to scale it. It's kind of hard to see because this is going to be quite large as far as when it's laid over the top of this base texture, so it's going to be hard to really see how it looks, but this is looking pretty good right now. And I'm liking some of these they're kind of a purplish gray almost and they kind of have more of a yellow tone, so I like that. Okay, I'm liking that actually pretty well. And then this is still even a bit small. I think maybe one thing is the contrast is a little high. I really don't want to see that big of a difference in color shades. Question is, can I fix that easily without having to do some manual work? Because I can bring down the contrast, but then that means I have to bring up the lightness a little bit, I think. That's not too bad. Let's bring it back a little bit. And let me re-export this. Well, I don't need to re-export it, I guess. Just save it. And I can go ahead and actually merge this down and reopen it here. So again, that's kind of the one thing, is just kind of seeing how these things look. Open and concrete blur once again. Let's see. I didn't want to open it, I wanted to open it as a layer. And again, I could just copy paste it too, but whatever. I think I'm going to do that because I keep pressing the wrong thing here. Okay, that was a lot easier. Okay, I'm liking this pretty well. These grooves might be a little intense still. I mean, the grain, I should say. But, you know, we'll work on that. And these kind of gravelly textures down here are a little harsh too, so I have to think about what I'm going to do about that. And again, you put layers and layers of other things on top, those things start to kind of become insignificant, so I'm not too concerned about them at the moment. What I might do though, well, I was thinking about kind of making a new image and with more tiles on it, to get a better idea what this is going to look like. But let's see, layer, and I see part of my problem is I didn't put this below the groove, so it looks a little funky at the moment. Let me make this like 15,000 square. That's going to take GIMP a couple seconds once again to scale. So more waiting involved in this. I don't really have a whole lot of patience for this this aspect of scenery design. That's why I like to put on my Billy Joel or something, you know, of that nature, so I can have something to listen to. But instead, I'm just talking to myself right now. Okay, that's actually looking pretty nice. That's I don't know if I want to bring up the opacity at all. And like I said, I need to move this down below the grain. That background I need to delete. Doesn't matter, but okay, this is I'm actually starting to kind of dig this. I'm digging this groove too. Again, I applied that jitter to it, so it's not perfectly straight, and I'm liking that actually a lot. So this needs to come down a little bit, I think. And the question is, do I put this beneath? So I could put this beneath the grain layer, which I don't think is a good idea. But if I did that, would that make a difference? And it probably wouldn't, but I like to try all different possibilities. These grooves are a little, like I was saying, a little, I guess they don't quite fit in yet, so I have to think about Okay, so I don't know. I think generally I think they have these textures beneath everything, so that's what I'm going to do. And this kind of work, it can actually get kind of fun at this point, because then you can kind of play around with things. I don't know what just happened, but that's because this is turned up all the way. This grain needs to be toned down a little bit, so, but by how much, I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell because I scaled this tone texture so much. I scaled it up so much that it's hard to tell where the opacity should be. I don't know, guys. What do you think? See, now it looks too smooth, so I need to. That would be the advantage of having. I can get more color out of it, I think, if I put it below everything. And just set the opacity to. I don't know. I don't like that either. Let's see. Put it in between the two. Getting closer, but that wouldn't really work as far as my layers, how that would work. Pop that a little bit more. I have my contrast in the sim turned up a lot, so if something has some at any remote amount of contrast in my texture, it's going to look really contrasty in the sim, so that's always a thing I had to kind of think about, is what it would look like in its stock shaders, and then the my own shaders. Well, you know, I think I'm going to leave this and kind of stop here for now. Come back to it possibly tomorrow, but wanted to get a little start on it because I have had this kind of on my agenda. What did I say? Agenda? I mean, now I know I'm tired, but kind of wanted to get a start on this so I could go to bed and think about it. Anyhow, thanks guys for tuning in, and we'll keep working on this. Alright. Where's the off button?